guys, I'm Val Johnson, and welcome to the Interludes YouTube channel. Check us out and enjoy. Well, hello. How are you, Michael?
Hey, good morning, Valarie Johnson of Interludes with Valarie Johnson fame. How are you this morning coming off a wonderful Sunday evening? I know if you turned on the TV last night after 7 on National Geographic, you went to church. We all went to church yesterday in a way, didn't we? With Reverend C.L. Franklin. That's right. We got a little bit of Saturday night in too before we went into Sunday morning. Learned a lot about the illustrious Franklin family of Detroit, Michigan last night in Genius, Aretha. And Valarie is here to tell you a little bit about it, to give you a preview of the wonderful TV movie series, some of the people behind it, and some of her early thoughts on this mini series that started on Sunday, yesterday, continues today, and runs through Wednesday. First run on National Geographic Channel, second run on Hoodie. So
Right.
tell us about it. What are some of your impressions, Ms. Johnson, on Genius Aretha?
Well, I will say this. Genius has been going on for about a couple of seasons. It started back in 2017. And I am excited. Brian Glazer and Ron Howard, they're one of the people, I guess, that came up with the idea. The first genius was Albert Einstein. I think that was portrayed by Jeffrey Rush. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the
Yeah.
second season, I believe, was Pablo Picasso and the wonderful Antonio Banderas. I didn't get a chance to see those two, but I've tuned in. Lead actress on this one is Cynthia Erivo, and my goodness, Color Purple 2016 Tony Award winner for that, and also nominated Oscar for the song as well as Best Actress for Harriet. She, I don't see Cynthia. I see Aretha when I watch this. What about you, Michael?
Yeah. She goes into the role. She's one of that. Well, maybe not officially, but she is of this generation of Black Brits, Black actors who are British. As soon as they begin to speak and answer questions, like, "Oh, where'd that come from?" Um, so non-American actress
Mm-hmm.
portraying a American diva, America's really first postmodern diva in a way. Aretha Franklin, of course, the life of Aretha Franklin. Um, Really, she takes it on, but I gotta give credit because she's
Mm-hmm.
not alone in her portrayal of Aretha Franklin. There is a young lady here, a young girl that plays Aretha Franklin at, it seems, the ages of about 7 to maybe 14.
Yeah,
And
that actress.
whoa,
That
yeah,
actress is she's young. She's Cheyenne Jordan. That's her name. Very talented
woo,
actress. Yeah, she sings. And the
woo.
great thing is
That's
that
Air Jordan
Cynthia.
there.
Yeah, I
That's Air
know.
Jordan. That's a slam dunk. Okay.
Cynthia and Shania, they do their own. They sing. They're actually singing, and it's literally Cynthia's interpretation of Aretha's. They're not very. They're not necessarily using Aretha's voice, but it's Cynthia's voice you hear, and this is the young actress Miss Jordan. You hear her voice singing when she stands in front of the church and
That little
sing.
girl can sing,
Yes, she can. Yes, she
and
can.
better than that, she can act. Uh, Even these first 2 episodes, there's a lot going on early on
Oh
in
my
Aretha
gosh.
Franklin's life that
Yeah.
I'm sure for some people this may be the first time that they've heard about it. If you're not a big Aretha Franklin fan, if you're somebody that this is who your grandma listened to or your mama listened to, then you may not know her personal story. And
It.
it's very interesting. The way that it's laid out, I think,
Mm-hmm.
is really helped that it has a female gaze, Gaze, to it, that is told from that perspective, because the way that it's laid out,
Mm-hmm.
gives us insight into things that could normally be taken as pure scandal. I mean, this is stuff
I
that would have
know.
just, tabloids, I'm sure at the time, as they got a hold of it, ate up. Um, so I didn't know.
And the
Woo!
and the one thing I will say is I was impressed because they literally are taking 8 episodes over a period of her life.
I think it ends up to be like a 7 to 8, but
It's
we'll see
seven
how
and
they
eight
go to.
episodes.
Yeah. Hmm.
Right. And so we had the first 2 episodes, and I noticed that they specifically targeted when she went on the gospel tour with her dad. And
Hmm.
come to find out that she has 2 sisters and a brother, and their mother has passed on. So it's just this Reverend C.R. Franklin, who is wonderfully
CL.
played CL Franklin,
Franklin.
who was
Yeah.
wonderfully played by Courtney B. Vance, Angela
Right.
Bassett's husband.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think for some reason people love to cast Courtney as a preacher. Remember the preacher's wife.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He's been
Well, yeah.
several films where he's been a preacher. So I'm like, they love to cast Courtney as a preacher. But yeah, the I have to say, I'm very grateful. Now, Clive Davis is one of the producers on this, so there was no
Of
issue.
course.
Remember, we talked
Of
about this when we were talking about
course.
the Salt and Pepper film. That it's always better when people have the rights to the music, so we're not figuring it out or trying to do the story without the music. One thing I love.
Right.
One
Yeah.
thing I loved is the actor that portrayed because they kind of go back and forth. They go from her childhood and then right at the very beginning of her success,
Yeah. Yeah.
and her search to find the sound, which I didn't realize. We were me and you. We weren't here in the '60s, so just she was in a process of literally finding her sound. So she had uh, married her husband, her first husband, who this it kind of reminded me of what is that called? The Aaliyah R. Kelly, where you're a kid and this person that's like way older. But what was that scene that happened with Diana Washington, the actress that portrayed Diana
Yeah.
Washington, and he was
Right.
kind of all over her. Yeah, the actor Malcolm Barnett. He did a great job playing
Well,
Aretha Franklin's husband. But go ahead.
well, Ted White. So it's Ted White, and at the
Ted.
time,
Mhm.
Ted was with Diana and
Yeah,
meets
yep.
Aretha as a child.
As a child.
I mean, and when I say a child, I mean like go to bed with your stuffed animal,
Hmm.
your stuffed doll child, and he takes an instant liking to her, which
Yeah,
through music and popular music is something that happened. I
yeah,
mean, there are stories about the kind of like people being taken in by another person's talent. You
right.
mentioned Mr. Age ain't nothing but a number. I feel like that's something that was highlighted here in this episode, but it was done in a really subtle way. It wasn't really it wasn't hammered at, but it's like, ooh, ew.
I know, and
Like,
that is the talented
yeah.
writing that you're one of your favorite writers, Susan Laurie Parks. Were you? What do you?
SLP as
SLP.
Mr. Messy Director likes to call her. SLP, I guess. I'm talking about there, Lee Daniels. So the SLP, Susan Lloyd Parks, also wrote the United States versus Billie Holiday, as well as a number of Broadway plays,
Mm-hmm.
screenplays. She's done just about everything imaginable and excelled at all of it. So
Right.
the fact that this is largely her project as executive producer and
Creator.
creator,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and she's writing this, it gives it this real s- interplay between these characters where they are able to, I think, really be themselves.
Right.
Um, and in doing that, there's some freedom there, which Aretha Franklin deserves. If you're gonna tell Aretha Franklin's story, she better be free. her character should not be confined, which has caused a little bit of controversy, right? So
Yeah,
far,
yeah.
tell us about the family. How they feel about this wonderful project.
Unfortunately, one of the granddaughters of Aretha Franklin was protesting this particular film being released because, according to her, the the one that Aretha approved of is the feature that hasn't been released yet, starring Jennifer Hudson. So unfortunately, she was a protester of one, and literally was very upset with the portrayal of her family, but
They
unfortunately,
should
a
have told
lot.
that child.
They should have told her.
They
This
should have
was
told her. This is like, I mean, if she's seeing her family secrets get aired on in a movie for the first time, I'm sorry, dear. Cause I mean, come on now. Come on now. That was your grandma?
I and I think the one thing that I totally forgot, because this was before our time, the Reverend C.L. Franklin, he's a little bit of a philanderer, and some of the women he would bring around the family, or the
And he
women,
also cheated with women.
he literally cheated on a lot of folks, and unfortunately the kids, they got attached to who he brought in front of them.
Or
But a
Aretha
lot of
did.
times
Aretha
Aretha
did.
did. Aretha did, and she would, she was trying to, I guess, search to find for like a mother figure. You lose your mom at a young age, a very young age, and it's just, now it was a full family of the four of them, the brother and the three,
Hmm.
the two
Hmm.
sisters. But
Yeah.
um, the one scene that I will say that really moved me, now that her husband, White, what was his name, Ben White,
No, Ted White.
Ted White,
Ted.
Ted White.
Yeah, Ted.
They had just had an argument, and I think this was, I was trying to figure out, yeah, this, and they had just crowned her in Chicago. I was very happy that they announced that it was happening in Chicago, the Queen of Soul, and they gave her a tiara, and they
Cameo by little Jermaine Dupri.
Jermaine Dupri. Yeah, I
Fucking
caught
putting
that
that on
too.
Jermaine Dupri. He
had a,
was
had a
welcome
ti-
up to Chicago at the time. Yeah.
had a tiara and everything, and she was waving at the crowd, and they did a flashback of her singing in front of the church. But
Mm-hmm.
then she charges right past all the reporters. She goes past her husband, and she sits in the chair, and she's looking at herself, a reflection in the mirror. And I was trying to figure out, oh my gosh. And then she has full makeup on, but she takes the makeup off, and you
Mm-hmm.
see where she's been abused by her husband. And this moment, I mean, that moment should have been the most overjoying moment in the world, because at that moment she had recorded music that people was loving and accepting. They loved it. This was supposed to be a great time of her life. But yeah, and I loved how Cynthia literally just doesn't say anything. She takes that makeup off, she sits there, and the camera just kind of slowly comes out, and I'm like, okay, we should be paying attention to this. So that type of great direction, I will say, Nima Barnett, she's a television, a black women television director that's been doing stuff since the Cosby Show, A Different World. She was brought on to direct one of the episodes from last night. I think she did that particular one. Excellent
Mm-hmm.
job. I was so moved by that scene. It brought a tear.
Okay.
Did you have a
Okay.
favorite scene, a standout scene for you?
Um, I probably, if I went back and thought about it, there probably are a couple of them. Somebody I want to mention that's in this, which I think is going to be really interesting. And from there, I'm going to segue us into the fact that this is not going to be the first time we hear about Aretha this year. Okay,
Okay.
so within Aretha Franklin's life, she has multiple lives, and by that I mean there are chapters to her life. There are clear starts and finishes. One of
Right.
those has to do with her career as a recording artist for Columbia Records. When
Ah,
she was with Columbia, Columbia, which is this kind of staid, STAID kind of record label at the time, they wanted kind of classics. They wanted things
yeah.
that people loved and already knew. Okay,
Right.
they wanted things that were established. Um, Aretha Franklin had grown tired of that after a while.
Mm-hmm.
She thought that they were trying to make her, which is interesting the way it's written, that we see her first with Dinah Washington, that they are trying to make her into another Dinah Washington, another Ella Fitzgerald, Nancy Wilson style
Right.
singer, jazz
Hmm.
vocalist. And she does not
Right.
see herself as this.
Mm-mm.
She wants some hits, okay? Like straight up. So the fact that Jermaine Dupri makes a little cameo in there, need a little hit. Yeah, I mean, Puffy should have been in this too. I mean, Aretha Franklin was not. I mean, people think of her as the queen of soul. Well, she wanted to be the queen of hits. She wanted to have her
Right.
music on the radio and people to hear her. I mean,
Exactly.
how else do you win over fans? So she was
Right.
not, she was not confused by any of this. There was no purity test in terms of her music. She wanted the most people to hear it, that could. So she makes a transition from Columbia to Atlantic.
Atlantic.
When she,
Right.
so the Aretha Franklin that most people know is the Aretha Franklin of Atlantic Records.
Atlantic Records. Right.
If yo mama, grandma, auntie, great auntie, whoever still has albums and still has 45s, and they have Aretha Franklin, they likely have Aretha Franklin on that black and red Atlantic label. Okay,
Atlantic. Right.
right,
Big old A.
not that red and white Columbia level label. Okay, we're talking about a time when record labels mattered. This is one of them.
Exactly. Right.
Rexler is the person who helps her to find her sound. Now, he doesn't give
Mhm.
her a sound. That's not what he does. He helps artists find their own sound. And in this portrayal, in National
Mhm.
Geographic version that we saw, Genius Aretha, which is airing this week on National Geographic and the next day on Hulu, David Cross, comedian David Cross, plays Jerry Wexler.
Does a good
He's
job.
great. He's
Does a
great.
great job. Yeah.
He's great,
Hmm.
because he creates this character, and you can kind of see how uh, Wexler is this character who has to negotiate things between the artist that he's trying to produce, her husband, who
Oh
is
gosh.
not helpful in
Not at
any
all.
way,
Not at
and
all.
possibly the rest of her family, that may or may not be. I mean, they're loving, but I don't know how supportive they are of what she's trying to do. She's trying to
Right.
do something brand new. Okay, her music is different when she sings it.
Hmm.
When it's her, um, I think one of the really interesting things, and I would love to know why it was put that way, is
Hmm.
that in an early rehearsal that you see in the movie, when
Hmm.
they go to Muscle Shoals, which is this kind of transitional part for Aretha Franklin, the Wexler character, David Cross, tells her, "No, sit back down." So she's starting to sing, and she's getting really nervous. She's trying to like get this song going, and she leaves the piano bench, and begins to
Hmm.
move around. He tells her, "No, no, please go back and sit down. Play from the piano." And then Wexler turns to Ted White, her husband slash manager
Manager.
at the time, and says to him is that she sounds different when she stays at the instrument. When she doesn't move around, it's a
That
different
was good.
performance, and that's what we want.
Right. Right. And what was the name of that song that they were working through? Because I really loved hearing how it originally sounded, how it was written, and then how it transitioned into, what it ended up being recorded. What was the name of that song? I'm not remembering it
Oh,
right.
I'll tell you in a second.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I'll let
I
you know in a
I've
second. Go ahead.
oh, but I was that scene was also one of I love the camaraderie between her and the musicians. And then when she went home and she actually brought her two sisters to sing background, then once the sound was created and I think it was up tempo at first and then it slowed down with her playing at the piano. And then you saw her directing the musicians, which I love to see that where it's like I know now I have a feeling, and to see the genius of Aretha Franklin, put together music that's literally in her mind and say, okay, you know what, I actually want it to be slower. And then she thought about the fight she had with her husband Ted and said, I'm gonna tap into that pain and I'm gonna put it on record. And it always reminds me, I am so grateful, although I'm sad and to learn what pain musicians go through to put out such great music. And Aretha Franklin, I believe she's one of the first women that was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's
And
right.
yeah, and in honor of Women's History Month, I believe Genius Aretha is a wonderful series that we all need to check out if you're not checking it out. Did you have anything else?
Oh, just on that, I was trying to pull up what the song is.
Yeah.
But even more important than that is that when
Hmm.
you're talking about genius,
Yeah.
in that rehearsal, early rehearsal, we see her hit a chord, which stops
Yes. The musicians. They're like,
everyone in the room. All the other musicians come, was that? And they're trying to guess it, and they're saying, well,
mhm,
that's a C7,
oh,
C7, sharp
minor.
9. And he's
Hmm.
like, no, no, no. She's like, that's this. And they're like, well, that's got to be a this. They're like, boom, boom. No, that's not it. She said, they say to her, say, well, it's funky, but it's something else. It's like, it said it's funky and it's celestial at the same time.
I love it. I love
And
it.
that's Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul. She is funky, and we still heard that funk. A rose is still a rose. Freeway of Love, it touched our generation. Still,
Hmm.
she was around singing these songs, doing duets with people like George Michael.
When
She
you were
was
waiting.
funky. And then
Hmm.
you wait for me. I mean,
I know.
she was doing that funk, but then that celestial. I mean, this is the same woman. Uh, I'm sure this will come up at some point in her life. I'm
Hmm.
interested to see how Cynthia kind of makes the changes of Aretha Franklin, because Aretha Franklin certainly looked different in different parts of her life
Very
too.
much so.
Um, but the idea that what was that for? I think it was some award show. Do you remember this, Valerie? There was an award show in which a singer was going to sing a song,
Hmm.
and they could not perform that. And instead, I believe it was Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston was ill. If I'm
Hmm.
remembering this correctly, I'm going off of memory now, which is always dangerous. Could not sing the song, so they
Hmm.
needed someone to come in, to step in. And Aretha Franklin came in and stepped in
Was
and
it for was it
sang.
was it for a movie? Was it for like an
No,
animated movie?
it was like a television. It was television. It
Oh,
was
television.
live,
Oh,
and
that was
Aretha Franklin.
I think that was the Grammys,
Mhm.
and she sang, I believe, with the Italian opera singer or something.
This is Pavarotti,
Pavarotti, yeah. I remember
and,
that.
and she came up
Oh.
there and just blew it out, and in a good way. Like,
Mhm.
okay, well, I knew you could sing so, but I didn't know you could sing like
I
that.
did know you could sing
And then
opera.
there was this whole new respect,
Mhm.
RESPECT, for Aretha Franklin. It's like,
Right.
oh my goodness, uh, that's just there. That's just
Yeah.
something button you can just hit when
Yeah,
you need it.
exactly.
Like, that's
Mhm.
ridiculous.
I
And
know.
there she
I know.
was, all of late '60s, early '70s. It just went like, pow! I can hit that.
Yeah,
I can
one
sing
of
this way.
right, one of my friends from high school, Tamara, she's watching us. Hey, how you doing, girl? She says my mom has Aretha vinyls from both labels.
Okay,
So her mom
Columbia
was
and
a
Atlantic.
Columbia and Atlantic, and I have my mother has the Atlantic 45s. She loved.
Mm.
She has respect, and you're all I need to get by. That was a remake too. You're all I need to get by, right? Yeah,
So
I
see,
feel
yeah,
like it
Aretha
was.
was into to turning. I mean, she when she did the song, I mean, it could have been somebody else's song first time. It was hers after she got a
Yeah.
hold of it. I mean, that's what happened with respect. You know,
Exactly.
there's still people to this day. You tell them respect and go Otis
Yeah.
Redding or Aretha Franklin. They go Otis Redding.
We didn't know
Yeah,
he recorded it. Who was
yeah,
that?
that was a Stax. That was a Stax song, and that
Exactly.
Stax song got to Aretha because she figured out I could do something with this,
Right.
and
And
she did.
exactly. And there's very few vocalists, very few artists that can take a song and make it their own. The other one of the only few people that I can think of that used to do that often was Luther Vandross. But definitely in the category of just genius. I totally understand the title now, and all of this is that what she did for music is transcended. And you hear some of the music that that she's done. It's music that stands the test of time for decades and decades. People are always going to remember some of the songs that she's recorded, and some of the ones that are not so memorable. We've One thing I want to mention is they have dubbed who was this Mary J. Blige as the queen of hip hop soul, and I was like, okay, that's kind
Hmm.
of. But there was a wonderful song that the two of them did together, and it was for I forgot what it was for. It was for something to honor Martin Luther King, I believe. You're never gonna take my place or something like that. So the two of them were on this song, and
Okay.
I was just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Vocals were beautiful. And but just kind of that you sing from your gut, you sing from your soul, from your pain, from your hurt. And definitely
Mhm.
that is Aretha. That is the genius of her. And I believe this series, I'm excited to see what the next 3 nights are going to bring. I'm going to be tuning in. What about you?
Absolutely. I certainly will be tuning in. I mean, the idea that you go from, Skylark, likely one of those
Yeah,
earlier songs that's probably what is on Columbia, something like a Skylark, a nice,
right.
beautiful jazz cover there.
Mhm.
All the way to, a rose is still a rose and Freeway of
Mhm.
Love. I mean, the sound. I mean, she was the sound. She
Right.
was the person. You mentioned Mary J. Blige. Mary J. Blige, given her own kind of, honorary title, but in the vein of Aretha Franklin. Because Aretha Franklin, still at the time when Mary J. Blige tries to tell us what the 411 was Aretha Franklin was the queen of soul. Okay. That's what you found out when you put down in those three numbers. Queen of soul was and is Aretha Franklin, and
Right.
this is a magnificent at least start to it. And
Yeah.
did you want to mention anything, any other things about Aretha? I know that this is a TV series, so it kind of gives us a lot of material to look at and work with. But there's a whole nother project coming out later on this year, isn't there?
Yeah, I believe it'll be the film that stars Jennifer Hudson as Aretha, and it was supposed to come out last year at toward the end of the year because I saw the advertising for it. But I think due to the pandemic, they really wanted it to be released to the theaters. So, but I would love to see Jennifer Hudson's interpretation of Aretha. So, not to pity that or anything, but I believe the feature for that is going to come out this year,
It's
because
supposed to be a schedule for later on. That would be called Respect.
respect, right?
Respect.
Hmm.
That's a J HUD project, which will put Forrest Whitaker in the role of CL Franklin.
Right.
Audra McDonald will also be a member of the family. Marlon Wayans, interestingly enough, will play
Hmm.
her match as Ted White
Well, that'll
in
be
that
interesting to
production.
see. Yeah,
Yeah, it
that'll
will
be
be
interesting
interesting
to
to see
see.
Marlon playing that type of a role. It's not something that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, and
Um,
I believe it's slated to come out in August of this year. That's what the date that they've
yes.
updated it now. So,
And yours and my Mary J. Blige is also in that production. She plays a young Dinah Washington.
Okay, wonderful. And this is directed by a woman director, Leslie Tommy. And she's the one directing this film that's coming out in August. So
Also
I'm
written by, story
written
by
story
women,
by. Let's take a look.
Tracy Scott Wilson,
Okay.
and also screenplay Tracy Scott Wilson and Kylie Corey.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So I'm grateful that Hollywood is learning that the story of women should be told by women and directed by women. And just for Women's History Month, Genius Aretha is something you guys could definitely treat yourselves to. Now, this is not for young viewers, uh, even though it's on
No,
TV.
no, no. Because we learn in Aretha's life, she created some young viewers as a young girl,
Hmm.
which is a little bit surprising to
Hmm.
some.
Exactly.
However, she's a PK. And if
She
if,
sure
if we're
is.
gonna be real, if we're gonna be real,
Uh oh, here we go.
a lot of stress was on the PKs, wasn't
Pretty
it?
much. Pretty
Preacher,
much. Pretty
preacher's
much.
kids. They could go either way.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
many that I know went the very straight and narrow way for most of their lives. But some of them, not so much.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
So I wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Phil Fox. He has been such a great supporter of Interludes podcast. Thank you so very much. He has a great YouTube channel. Please check him out. Drops of Hope Ministries. So I definitely want to give him a shout out. Thank you so much for your shout out on your show on yesterday. And Michael, we've got to have him on the show. But
okay.
anyway, I'm wrapping up. Genius Aretha on National Geographic. Please check it out. If you missed the first two episodes from yesterday, or the first airing, you can see those two episodes on streaming live right now on Hulu.
Hulu comes out
Hmm.
on National Geographic first
Hmm.
day. The next day, second run on Hulu. If you don't know where National Geographic is, hit the microphone, ask for it. National Geographic. Bleep.
And it'll
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 pop
pop up
up.
for you. So it'll
It'll
be
pop up.
8 Central, 9 Eastern. That's when it'll air again tonight. Michael, I'll be watching, and hopefully we can review this again later this week, or probably at the end of the week, to talk about the other 6 episodes. We just saw the first two, and we're impressed. I'm in. I'm in. I'm gonna watch.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna be listening to some Aretha this week. I haven't heard Aretha in a while. So do your soul good. Do something good
Oh,
for your soul.
all right. Well, thank you so very much. What's your name?
My name is not Valarie Johnson's. Your name is, and this is called Interludes with Valarie Johnson.
He's supposed to say, "My name is Michael Wamble, and I'm the executive producer." My gosh.
Would you
All
expect
right.
me to do a rose? It's still a rose.
Go on and sing it, Michael.
And that's it. That's all I know. That's
That's
all I
all
know.
you got. All
That's
right,
all I
guys.
got.
Thank you for joining us. Have a great rest of your
A
day.
little girl sing
Ooh.
a song. All right.
Thank you for watching the Interludes Extra. Please like and subscribe to Interludes, our YouTube channel. I'm Val Johnson. Take care.